Hi, Camila.
Hello.
Thank you for being here today. I'm so excited to talk to you about the books that you like.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Camila, tell me a little bit about yourself. How old are you? What grade are you in?
I'm 10. I'm in 5th grade.
And tell me a little bit about your family. Who do you live with?
I live with my mom, my dad, my brother, and our 5 other pets.
And your pets are?
2 dogs, 2 snakes, 1 guinea pig.
Do they all have names?
Yes.
What are they?
Our dogs are named Luna and Tiger, and then our snakes is Arrow and Medusa, and then my guinea pig's named Saber.
Because of his teeth?
No.
Oh, just for fun. So Camila, do you have any first memories of like who's the first person you remember reading to you?
My mom.
And do you remember what you were reading?
No, but like I remember one book that we always had was Chicks and Salsa.
And you'd read that book a lot?
Yeah.
And what did you like about that book?
It was funny because it was basically the animals on the farm making like a festival. And in every page you would see the rats, like having like selling stuff. Like in one page they were selling avocados, and then another they were selling sombreros.
So Camila, I know in your house that both English and Spanish is spoken. Do you ever read books in Spanish or bilingual books in English and Spanish?
Yeah.
And what are some of your favorite bilingual books?
Too Many Tamales.
And what's that story about?
It's basically this girl that wears her mom's wedding ring, and they were making tamales, and she was like kneading the dough, and she suddenly looks at her hands and she's like, "Where did the wedding ring go?" So her and her cousins eat all the tamales to find the wedding ring, and at the end they're bloated, and then she tells her mom, and her mom says, "Oh, I took it from you." And then she was like, and then they had to make another batch of tamales.
And what do you like about that story?
I think it's just funny, and like it's also like moms know before you do.
And then does your family get together the way that family does? Does your family make tamales? Is there any connection between something that you do in real life and what happens in the story?
Yeah, that story does take place on Christmas, and in Christmas we usually invite our family over and we celebrate and we have tamales and pozole.
Delicious. And do you ever help make tamales?
No.
You just eat them.
Yeah, because usually my grandma makes them.
One book that you think every kid should read, what book would that be?
Where the Mountain Meets the Moon.
Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. What's that book about?
I had to read it for class, and our teacher just read it to us, but it was really interesting, and we can make like theories about the book. And it was basically about this girl named Minley, who her family's like poor, and she wants to find a fortune, and her dad tells her stories about the old man of the moon and stuff like that. And so she tries to find Never-Ending Mountain to find the old man of the moon. And on her way, she stumbles across a dragon, and the dragon was like made out of a painting, and he can't fly. And so Minley and the dragon basically tried to find the old man of the moon. And then Minley and dragon finally get to the old man of the moon, but they had to cross it, and the bridge was too heavy for dragon, so Minley went, and she was going to ask for the fortune and for dragon's wish. You can only ask the old man of the moon one question each 99 years. And so she asked, and then she saw that she doesn't need to be rich to have a good life with her family. So she asked the dragon's question instead of hers. And then he grabbed like a ball from top of his head, and it was the dragon's pearl. And then he can finally fly. So it took their like journey a lot faster because they just went faster because they were flying. And then they go back home, and then Dragon feels like he's home, and then he stumbles across this mountain where his mom was, and apparently the ink that he was made out of basically was the ink that people found on the mountain, and so he found his mom, and the mom dragon basically made the rain, and all the weather, and so she made the fruitless mountain. She made fruitless mountain full of fruit mountain, so they called it that, and they were just rich of fortune at the end of it.
That story was so good. Charlotte wanted to come hear you tell it. Camila, what do you think it was about that book that you liked so much?
The moral of the story, and there was and each because they would always go somewhere on their journey, but it always tied in to the end of it. It always tied together. Mm-hmm. And you may be like, why was he in the book? Why was she in the book? Well, at the end of the book, you understand. Everyone was there for a reason.
And what do you think? You said that you like the moral of the story. What do you think is the moral or the message of the story?
You don't need a lot of stuff you don't need to be rich to have a good life and to be with your family.
And you mentioned before that books give you knowledge. What kind of knowledge do you think they give you?
They give you say for a nonfiction book, it gives you the history and the past, and it's it teaches you about historical things that happened before.
And you also learn something from fiction books, the book that you described is a fiction book, but did you learn something from that?
Well, it teaches you a moral. Most fiction books teach you a moral. Fairy tales teach you a moral. So I think that's also something.
What would you say to another 10-year-old about books or reading?
It's very important to do.
You're right, it is important, but in Camila's world, in your own opinion, why do you think it's important?
I think it's important because you just get an understanding, and I feel it gives you, because reading and writing is your most important, and it's very important to do.
Thank you, Camila. I'm so glad you came today.
Thank you.
Tell me the name of your book recommendation again.
Where the Mountain Meets the Moon.
Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. I've never heard of that book, and it sounds really good. I'm going to check that out. Thank you, Camila.